Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Professor Caroline Molina, Associate Professor of Geography and Climate Change Sciences from Kaimosi Friends University, Kenya. I would want to make my presentation on institutional and financial enforcement enhancement, the Kenyan perspective. This presentation will be I put it in different parts, summary, and as you had indicated to us, this presentation majorly focuses on the Kenya climate policy landscape, assessing its strengths, gaps, and opportunities for enhanced action. The key findings for the Kenyan scenario majorly are Kenya is a regional leader with a robust policy and legal architecture, notably in Climate Change Act 2016 and amended in 2013. Actually, for your noting, Kenya was one of the first African countries to put an act, a climate change act, in place. Secondly, the institutional framework is established but still faces coordination and capacity challenges at subnational levels. As we all know, the Kenyan government, we have two types of government, the national government and the county government. And I think this is where there's a problem, particularly in issues of coordination and capacity challenges. And sometimes you look at this issue of climate change like it's something new, and without proper framework, institutional framework, then matters of even climate financing can be a tricky issue. Thirdly, significant process in renewable energy. Kenya as a country has put in measures that are likely to see geothermal, wind, and solar really taking forefront. I think even in the African context, Kenya is one of the countries that has really put forth a serious it has really put in serious support towards geothermal. And I think many other African countries are coming over to Kenya to learn one or two things or to benchmark on how it's working on its geothermal power. Fourthly, the major gaps exist in climate finance mobilization, data systems, and phasing out of fossil fuel subsidies and ensuring a just transition. In conclusion, Kenya foundational work is impressive. This I must indicate. I think Kenya, as I've already indicated, is one of the countries that has really put forth matters of climate change financing the forefront. This is how my table of content will look like: introduction, country contrast, legal inventory, institution framework, policy strategy mapping, finance and incentives, impacts and outcomes, data and statistics, key national statistics, gaps and risks, recommendation and data sources. I quickly move to the rationale. Kenya climate change, just like any other country all over the world, is a threat to Kenya development, impacting on the key sectors that include agriculture, water, tourism, and the vulnerable population. Kenya, just like any other African country, the masses are really vulnerable to this issue of climate change. And the more reason we really need to put in adaptation measures, and adaptation measures cannot come without finances or resources. Kenya is committed to the UN CCC Paris Agreement, and it is also committed to its ambitious national development, national determined contributions. The NDC was updated from 2020, whereby we hope that we going to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 32% by 2030. And then we have our long-term strategies. We have our long-term strategies that we aim to have net zero greenhouse emissions by 2050. We're just hoping we're gonna get to this. I've already done the context, the country context. Just like any other African country, Kenya is very vulnerable, and issues of floods, drought, and changing of rainfall patterns, cessations, and Sometimes, like right now, it's raining and nobody is expecting rains in this country. So these rains will just go to waste because most farmers are not even prepared for these rains, or they'll just go to waste. And then Kenya, over 80% of Kenya is arid and semi-arid. The Kenyan economy is heavily dependent on climate-sensitive sectors like agriculture. Agriculture comprises 33% of the GDP and 60% of employment. In terms of development trajectory, just like any other middle income status countries, under Vision 30, we really require that we align these issues of climate and development goals. And then on low carbon profile, electricity generation is predominantly renewable at 90%, and this has to be looked into. Legal inventory. The Kenyan Climate Change Act, and as I told you, it's one of the countries in Africa that had this, provides an overarching legal framework that mandates development of national climate change action plans. And I must indicate to you that I'm glad to let you know that I was part of this. I developed these action plans. It establishes National Climate Change Council that's chaired by President and other members from manufacturing, communities, and so on and so forth. So Kenya has in place a Climate Change Council. Then it also provides for carbon markets and climate finance frameworks. Supporting legislation include the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, EMCA, I think of 1999, but I think it is reviewed recently. The Energy Act, Forest Conservation and Management Act, the Water Act, and County Government Acts. Institutional framework. At the national level, we have the National Climate Change Council. We have the Ministry of Climate Change and Forestry for coordination. We have Climate Change Directorates at the national level and even at all the county levels. Then we have the National Treasury. It's so key for climate finance and physical policy. At the sub-national level, we have the county governments. They have developed, and I think as I record this video, almost all the 47 counties have put in place this county climate change funds and action plans. And the county in which my university is located, Vihiga particularly, is very upbeat in matters of climate change, and they've really done well. In fact, it's one of the counties that other counties from Kenya come to benchmark and learn one or two things. On policy and strategy mapping, we have National Climate Change Action Plan of 2023 to 2027, the 5-year plan. We have the National Adaptation Plan. We have the Green Economy Strategy and the Implementation Plan. We have the National Drought Management Authority, and then we also have the sectoral policies. On finance and incentives, we have the public finance. This is mainly from the national and county governments allocate budgets, and they've established climate change funds. We have international finance, significantly from the Green Climate Fund, Adaptation Fund, World Bank, and bilateral donors. Then you also have physical incentives, positive VAT exemptions for renewable energy equipment, and feed-in tariffs. And then you also have the negative gap, persistent fossil fuel subsidies, especially for kerosene. And then you also have carbon markets. We have developed a framework for Article 6 compliance and voluntary carbon markets. Impacts and outcomes on this, we can successfully say that we are really moving well towards the geothermal energy, high renewable energy, and expanding our forest cover towards the 10% target. And then we put in place adaptation initiatives that are being upscaled every other time, early warning systems, climate smart agriculture. Although we still have challenges, that there's uneven implementation across counties, And then there's limited tangible outcomes. And then we also have economic losses from climate extremes. That's still continuation. We have put in place Kenya Climate Smart Agricultural Monitoring Assessment Platform. This basically looks at how smart agriculture is being done, and if it's being done, is it bearing the fruit that we desire? Then the National Drought Management Authority is really putting in place to ensure that we have early warning bulletins to the farmers, to anybody else who needs this data or information early enough. We have the Water Resources Authority. We have the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics that integrates climate and environment in some of the surveys. Although we still have gaps, we have a fragmented data system, lack of standardized indicators for tracking adaptation effectiveness, particularly at the local levels. Data statistics, Kenya has a population of 55 million. That is 2023. I think I need to look at it. Probably we are 57 at the moment. Greenhouse emissions, it's a low contributor, just like many other African countries, but growing per capita in terms of carbon dioxide emissions. And then renewable energy reliant 90% on the grid electricity, forest cover at 8.8 as per 2021 with a target of 10% by 2027. Climate finance needs estimated about USD 62 billion for national determined contribution implementation for the years 2020 to 2030. Vulnerability, Kenya is ranked 151 out of the 181 countries in the National Determination Gain Index of 2023. Measures that have been put in place, they include policy coherences, fossil fuel subsidies, climate finance investment gaps, data quality, sector transitions. Still continuation recommendations. We recommend strengthening policy and legal frameworks, accelerate the phase out of fossil fuels, mandate support stronger climate mainstreaming in all sectoral ministries plans. Then number 2, institutional, financial, and enforcement enhancements. We hope to build capacity of county governments for planning and accessing finance, and I think this is done. Operation the climate change fund, strengthen the MRV system, particularly for adaptation and resilience, develop and implement clear just trust frameworks. My data sources were the Government of Kenya, Climate Change Directorate, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, National Treasury, National Climate Change Action Plan 3, National Determined Contributions, the Kenya Climate Change Act of 2016 that was amended in 2023, World Bank Group, IMF, UNDP, UNEP, Climate Policy Initiatives, World Resources Institute, academic journals, research institutions such as the African Center for Technology Studies, and the NDGA Initiative Index. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm always available for clarification, just in case you need to know more about Kenya. Thank you so much, and I hope this helps us in understanding issues of climate financing from the Kenyan context. Thank you.